The news swept through the golf world like wildfire. ESPN Golf.com and every major sports outlet suddenly carried the same breathtaking narrative. Charlie Woods hadn't merely shown up to compete, he had arrived with authority, with purpose, with undeniable skill. Within 24 hours, social media exploded. Professional golfers weighed in with genuine astonishment. Commentators scrambled to find the right words. Suddenly, clips of Charlie's swing were everywhere, analyzed, dissected, compared to his father's legendary form. But there was something profoundly different in the air this time. Something that made even the most seasoned observers pause. It was respect. Yes, he carries the Woods name. Yes, the crushing weight of expectation follows his every move. But this performance, this victory, transcended genetics and legacy. This was about pure execution, surgical precision, and an almost supernatural poise under pressure, qualities you simply cannot fake. Qualities that cannot be taught. The young man didn't merely make birdies. He systematically dismantled some of the most ruthless junior competitors in the sport. That alone transformed the entire conversation. This wasn't background noise anymore. This was the headline that shook the foundation of junior golf. The golf world had no choice but to take notice. When a teenager, bearing that legendary surname, steps from the shadows and defeats a field of killers with nothing but shot-making brilliance and nerves of steel, people stop what they're doing. They stop scrolling. They start watching. From that electric moment forward, Charlie Woods was no longer simply Tiger's son. He had become the story itself. #, the professionals take notice. The professional golf world didn't wait long to weigh in on Charlie Woods' stunning AJA victory. When they spoke, it wasn't with polite, measured tones. Their words carried weight, urgency, an unmistakable recognition of something extraordinary. You might expect some noise when Tiger Woods' son achieves something noteworthy, but this wasn't mere media chatter or recycled praise. These were battle-tested tours veterans, major championship winners, offering genuine credit to a young man who, until recently, was known primarily for walking fairways beside his legendary father. Justin Thomas, who had shared countless rounds with the Woods family, delivered his assessment with characteristic directness. "He's got incredible tempo, and he's mentally tough," Thomas told reporters after completing his own round. "He doesn't just play the game, he understands it. That's extraordinarily rare, coming from someone who has competed against the world's elite and witnessed true competitive fire in its purest form. Such an endorsement carries profound significance. Thomas isn't known for handing out compliments merely for the cameras. Rory Mroy, typically measured in his praise, was equally direct. "He's not just a famous name," McIlroy said during a Golf Channel interview. "He knows how to compete." You could hear the tonal shift from curiosity to genuine respect. This was no longer about the novelty of Tiger's son participating in tournaments. This was about Charlie establishing himself as a legitimate contender in his own right. That distinction matters deeply. It's what transforms fleeting headlines into lasting expectations. Even Jordan Spieth, reflecting on his own meteoric early rise, saw something hauntingly familiar. "He reminds me of myself as a teenager," Spieth observed during the PNC Championship. "The confidence, the focus, it's not manufactured. It's natural, coming from someone who took the PGA Tour by storm before he could legally rent a car." Such a comparison isn't casual observation, it's prophetic recognition. These weren't throwaway comments or calculated media soundbites designed for clicks. They were honest, visceral reactions from players who recognize greatness and, more importantly, who understand what it feels like to be in its presence. In a world where hype can be manufactured overnight, the words of these professionals carried genuine weight. When legends like Thomas, McIlroy, and Spieth speak with such conviction, you realize something profound. Charlie Woods isn't just being watched anymore. He's being measured against the very best. The round that changed everything. A666 sounds impressive on paper, but it was how Charlie Woods achieved that score that made the entire golf world stop and stare in wonder. This wasn't some fortunate hot streak or a fluky front nine surge. This was calculated, patient, and at times, ruthlessly cold, the kind of round you'd expect from a seasoned tour professional, grinding through a pressure-packed Sunday, not from a teenager carrying the immense weight of the Woods legacy. He wasn't out there spraying miraculous shots or relying on lucky bounces. Instead, he methodically constructed intelligent golf, hole after hole, with the composed precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. What truly captivated those watching were the final 9 holes. This is typically where pressure devours young players, where leaderboards tighten, cameras multiply, and every tee shot begins to feel like a judgment. But Charlie, he didn't even blink. 3 birdies on the back 9, including a laser-like dart on the 16th hole that left him with a tap-in putt. It wasn't just clutch, it was ruthless. There was no panic, no overreaction, just crystal clear planning and absolute commitment to every single shot. For those observing closely, it didn't appear as though he was chasing a victory. It looked as though he already knew it belonged to him. Max Homa was among the first professionals to take notice, immediately jumping on social media to praise Charlie's tempo and poise, specifically highlighting the balance in his swing and the remarkable maturity in his club selection. Coming from someone who has built his reputation on ball-striking excellence and self-awareness, this wasn't empty flattery, it was one master technician tipping his cap to another. What truly shook observers wasn't simply that Charlie delivered a low round. It was how effortless it appeared. There was no sense of desperate overexertion, no wide-eyed energy, no miraculous putts from impossible distances. Just pure, repeatable, supremely confident golf, the kind of round where you forget you're watching a teenager until the scorecard slaps you back into reality. In rounds like this, raw potential transforms into something far more dangerous, polish. And that's precisely what everyone witnessed that day. Not a glimpse of what might someday be, but a preview of what's inevitably coming. Breaking free from the shadow 4 years. Charlie Woods walked in the shadow of the biggest name golf has ever known. It was inevitable from the moment he first teed up, in public cameras zoomed in, comparisons loaded and ready, headlines reading the same predictable refrain. Tiger's son. Every swing, every celebration, every glance was dissected through the unforgiving lens of legacy. But something fundamental has shifted recently. The conversation is no longer about who his father is. It's about who Charlie is becoming, and how rapidly he's getting there. The temptation for fans and media has always been to label him a tiger, but those who have watched him closely, really watched him, will tell you something profound. Charlie doesn't play like Tiger. He doesn't even attempt to. His swing isn't a carbon copy. His demeanor runs cooler, more measured. His course management already displays a maturity that appears more self-forged than inherited. Golf Channel analysts have pointed out the subtle nuances in his approach, the way he shapes shots based on conditions rather than ego. He isn't trying to become the second coming of anyone. He's focused on winning golf tournaments his own way. Golf.com analysts have gone even further, articulating what others have been whispering. Charlie Woods is carving out a completely new identity, one that stands powerfully on its own merit. The Woods DNA is still there, the killer instinct, the competitive fire, but it's wrapped in something more deliberate, more composed. The flash emerges when needed, but he's not swinging for viral clips. He's swinging for trophies. Now the professionals are recognizing it too. They're not just seeing the son of a 15-time major champion. They're seeing a genuine threat, someone who has somehow skipped the awkward learning curve and stepped directly into the spotlight with a game that demands attention. Charlie Woods may always carry that legendary name, but the conversation has fundamentally shifted. It's no longer about Tiger. It's about the young man standing beside him, writing his own extraordinary story, and forcing everyone to pay attention. The future arrives early. There's a different energy now when Charlie Woods steps up to the tee. It's no longer about watching a famous surname go through the motions. It's about witnessing someone knock insistently on the door of greatness and, perhaps preparing to kick it down entirely. What was once viewed as a long-term development project has suddenly become a short-term concern for the rest of the field. You can feel it quietly, subtly, but unmistakably present. That edge of tension when his name surfaces in locker room conversations, during practice rounds, in interviews. Because the future isn't just approaching anymore. It might already be. Here. Charlie isn't just playing exceptional junior golf. He's playing meaningful golf, the kind that captures the attention of sponsors, selectors, and yes, even established players. Whispers about potential exemptions circulate. Rumors about junior team selections spread. Corporate executives are already envisioning him in commercials and branded equipment deals. The reason these conversations are even happening is elegantly simple. He looks ready. Perhaps not ready for Augusta National, but ready to matter on golf's biggest stages. What makes this moment so different isn't just the media, but it's how the professionals are reacting. They're not dismissing it as manufactured hype or rolling their eyes at another overhyped prospect. They're paying serious attention, because somewhere deep in their competitive souls, they remember what it felt like to be that kid, the one who didn't understand limits yet, the one who didn't care who else was in the field, only who stood in his way. And they also remember what it felt like when someone like that started appearing in their tournament pairings. This isn't just admiration anymore. It's awareness, perhaps even apprehension, because if Charlie maintains this trajectory, continues showing up like this, he won't simply be part of the next generation of golf. He'll be pushing the current one aside, and when veterans start watching their backs, you know something seismic is stirring. The day everything flipped, it wasn't supposed to end like this. Not for Miles Russell, not for the AJA's #1 junior golfer, who arrived at Streamsong Resort as the undisputed favorite, and certainly not with the kid ranked 6,004th in the world standing atop the leaderboard. But on a warm Florida afternoon, everything flipped upside down. Charlie Woods delivered the kind of round that freezes entire fairways and sends shockwaves through the sport. A final round 66, 8 birdies, a 15 under par total that didn't just win the AJA Team TaylorMade Invitational. It sent a message that was loud, unmistakable, and absolutely impossible to ignore. From the moment he stepped onto the first tee, something felt profoundly different. It wasn't nervousness. It wasn't flashy bravado. It was presence, the same quiet confidence golf fans once witnessed in his father, now emerging in a new generation. Charlie didn't chase the lead. He hunted it with surgical precision. 4 birdies in his first 5 holes, every swing calculated, every putt struck with pure intent. As the names ahead of him cracked under mounting pressure, Charlie surged forward, calm, composed, inexorable. Miles Russell watched it unfold in real time. The top-ranked player in the country, stunned, not by luck or fluke, but by a performance that was surgical, relentless, and utterly undeniable. When Charlie walked off the 18th green, the scoreboard didn't just show a victory, it displayed absolute dominance. But this transcended beating a single player. This was about crashing through the wall of expectation that had followed Charlie Woods since he first picked up a golf club. The question now burns with urgency. What happens next? Because if this is what he's capable of at 16, with that legendary surname, under that kind of crushing pressure, then perhaps this is the beginning of something much bigger. Something historic. One thing has become crystal clear. The golf world isn't just watching anymore. It's bracing itself for what comes next. From promise to performance, Charlie Woods has always drawn crowds. Cameras followed him long before mattered. Every swing dissected, every moment compared to the legend who raised him. He wasn't just a junior golfer, he was Tiger Woods' son, carrying a legacy as powerful as it was burdensome. The PNC Championship offered the world glimpses of the extraordinary bond between father and son, their synchronized strides, their mirrored swings. But for Charlie, the journey was never about becoming the next Tiger. It was about becoming Charlie. Until now, his AJA record was promising, but quiet. 5 starts, 1 top 25 finish, enough to maintain radar presence, but insufficient to spark revolution. Standing in his path at Streamsong was the most dominant figure in junior golf. Miles Russell, number 1 in the rankings, a player accustomed to leading, not following. All indicators pointed toward another Russell victory and another valuable learning experience for Woods. But then something shifted dramatically. This wasn't the same Charlie Woods who had quietly navigated through expectations. This was a transformed version, sharper, calmer, more precise. It wasn't just his swing that had matured. It was his entire mindset, his decision-making, the way he carried himself. Not like someone overwhelmed by spotlight pressure, but like someone who had finally made peace with it. On a course renowned for testing patience and punishing aggression, Charlie played like a master strategist. He didn't attempt to overpower Streamsong, he outthought it completely. The final round wasn't merely a victory, it was a complete transformation from potential to performance. From hype to headline. Suddenly, Charlie isn't generating discussion because of his legendary surname. He's commanding attention in spite of it. This wasn't Tiger's son winning a tournament. This was Charlie Woods defeating the absolute best, proving that, when everything matters most, he doesn't need a legacy to guide him. He's forging one, entirely his own. The moment of truth. It began quietly, just a smooth tee shot, a calm walk down the fairway. But then came the spark. Birdie, then another, and another. Before the field could process what was happening, Charlie Woods had rattled off 4 birdies in 5 holes to open the final round. This wasn't a hot streak, this was a systematic takeover. Reuters reported it as a frontline assault, but anyone watching understood this transcended mere numbers on a scorecard. This was the precise moment when the entire tournament tilted in one direction, and it wasn't toward the favorite. By the time Charlie reached the turn, the question was no longer whether he could compete with the top-ranked players. It was whether anyone could possibly catch him. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. NBC Sports had already declared the AJA Team Tailor-Made Invitational one of the strongest junior fields of the year. Miles Russell, the nation's number 1 junior, was there. So was Luke Clanton, ranked 5th nationally. But rankings become meaningless when someone is rewriting the script in real time. Charlie didn't simply outlast these elite players, he outclassed them entirely. Golf Digest proclaimed his ranking leap would be historic. How could it not? This wasn't a fortunate one-hole wonder or a backdoor top 10 finish. This was a commanding 15 under total, a final round 66, a 3-shot victory over a field packed with college-bound talent and future professionals. It wasn't close. It wasn't expected. And that's precisely what made it absolutely extraordinary. What Charlie accomplished at Streamsong transcended momentum or lucky bounces. It was about seizing control early and never relinquishing it. While the rest of the field struggled to find their rhythm, he was already conducting a masterpiece. That final round changed everything, not just the outcome of a single tournament, but how the entire golf world perceives him now. Charlie didn't just show up, he made absolutely certain that no one would ever forget he was there. The course that doesn't forgive. Streamsong Black doesn't care about your reputation. It devours egos, punishes the slightest mistakes, and demands surgical precision on every single shot. It's not the kind of course you attempt to bully, it's the kind of course you must respect completely. And that's exactly what Charlie Woods did. While others tried desperately to overpower it, Charlie studied it, dissected it systematically, and transformed every hole into a chess move. His strategy wasn't flashy, was flawless. He didn't chase unnecessary risks. He didn't attempt hero shots. He trusted his game completely and executed with a composure that players twice his age would envy. Tight pin placements. He aimed for safety. Trouble lurking off the tee. He selected conservative clubs. Every decision appeared to come from someone who had spent a decade mastering that course. Not a 16-year-old, still carving his path in the sport. It wasn't just the skill on display that impressed observers, it was the remarkable maturity. According to the New York Post, Tiger Woods himself acknowledged that Charlie is forging his own path. That path is clearly built on more than just genetics. It's about how Charlie sees the game, how he feels it in his bones. He doesn't simply hit shots, he crafts complete rounds. He builds momentum without forcing it. When pressure mounts, he loosens his shoulders and delivers precisely when it matters most. Meanwhile, players like Miles Russell, arguably the finest junior golfer in the country, felt the heat. The course invaded their thoughts. The leaderboard consumed their focus. Charlie, on the other hand, appeared as though he'd been there countless times before. Even though he hadn't, while others pressed desperately, he remained completely present. That's what elevates this performance beyond special. It wasn't about raw speed or overwhelming strength. It was about pure intelligence. Charlie didn't just defeat the field at Streamsong. He outthought them entirely. He walked into a lion's den and played as though he owned the keys. If that's what he's capable of at 16, then the rest of junior golf just received a very real, very urgent wake-up call. What comes next? Now that Charlie Woods has illuminated one of junior golf's most challenging fields and departed not just with victory, but with an unmistakable statement, everyone is asking the same burning question: what comes next? Is this a miraculous one-time performance, or the opening chapter of something bigger, something generational? One thing has become absolutely certain: this wasn't luck. This was preparation colliding with opportunity, resulting in a seismic shift across the junior golf landscape. Suddenly, Charlie isn't the kid with the famous surname anymore. He's become the name that matters most. This victory at Streamsong was no accident. It was a measured, controlled, and utterly dominant performance that proved he doesn't simply belong, he can lead. College recruiters are watching intently. Sponsors are circling like sharks. And you can guarantee that AJA Fields just became significantly more nervous. Could we witness Charlie dominating the entire AJGA circuit from this point forward? Absolutely. Could he earn invitations to elite amateur events, or even make an early push toward professional qualifying? It's no longer impossible. After all, this is a player who just dismantled the top-ranked junior golfer in the country, not by a single stroke, but by a commanding 7 shots. The future of golf isn't just approaching anymore. It has arrived, and its name is Charlie Woods.